All right, so this is just more proof about groups and congregations being false pastors. You know, I tried to warn these guys earlier about doing sundown to sundown worship and showing them how scripture shows dawn to dawn. And I said, hey, we know how you false teachers love to bring up strife and contention in order to deflect away from your righteous judgment. Like I said, if you teach sundown to sundown worship, you have absolutely zero business leading an entire congregation. If you can't teach the first page of the first chapter correctly, hang it up or continue dealing with the messenger of Yahweh come to expose you. Yes, that is who I am. I'm coming to expose you. And he says, he quotes Genesis 1:14, and I'll just go down, or sorry, he's at 1:16 through 19. And he uses, he says, and you use another source to examine your Sabbath. But right here in Genesis 1, Yahuwah said the moon wasn't created until the fourth day. Duh, I didn't say it was created any other day. And it was the evening and morning. So you see how he used evening and morning to I don't know what he's trying to suggest, but he's trying to suggest that means that it's the next day or something to that effect. You know, whatever that out of context thought that people have when they read evening and morning, they think it means from Friday to Saturday or from Monday to Tuesday, Tuesday to Wednesday. That's what they think when they say evening and morning. That does not mean what that means. And I said, yes, the serpent tongue getting Genesis 1 wrong. And I requested a video debate with his entire elder base ASAP because they're teaching Genesis 1 out of context. Again, Yasharal, Genesis 1, like Genesis 1 verse 5, when it says evening and morning were the first day, that is describing the definition of what happened during the daylight of that day. You don't see mention of night in that conversation. He's not mentioning night. He's mentioning what he did during the day. Evening and morning is not constituting a chronological order. It's not saying from that evening into the next morning brings you to the next day. That is not what it's saying. That is what the serpent tongue says. Remember, in verses 1 or Genesis 1 verse 5, you're getting the definition of light, which is also referred to as day. Day is also referred to as light. You're getting the definition of dark, which is also referred to as night. And also we see that light is good and darkness we can infer is bad. Then the very next verse that we see in the verse 5 is where we see him talking about and then evening and morning were the first day. So he's giving you the definition of day. From evening, that's sundown, right as this, right before it's fully, the sun is fully over the horizon. That's light is still in the air. And also morning, in the very twilight in the morning, when you're just seeing that sun just peek its head over that horizon and you're seeing that blue twilight in the sky, and it's eventually it gets, more red and white and, so on and so forth. That is the definition of day. That does not mean chronologically from evening to morning constitutes the next day or day going to the next day. That is incorrect. That's the serpent tongue teaching out of context. Yasharal, please beware of people who cannot correctly teach Genesis 1. It'll save you so much sin and salvation and confusion and strife and commotion in this walk. It's literally leading everyone to confusion. Just Genesis 1. If they can't teach Genesis 1, run. Shalom.